Welcome, everyone, to the Predictive Playbook. This is the special show called Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show. And what better place could you be if it wasn't COVID-19 or if we weren't like thousands of miles apart and be in a pub on a Friday afternoon drinking our favorite pint of beer from one of our favorite bartenders with our favorite professional sports bettors and shooting the breeze. Nothing's better than that. Nothing. Cool. You know what? There is something better, though. There is something better because I will at least humble myself and say that I am totally wrong with Davey Roberts' managerial skills, and he clearly knows more about the game than anyone I have ever known, and he's such a great coach that he has now gotten Jensen postseason ERA of 0 to accept the setup role to Mad Scherzer, who, did you see him sprint in from center field? Oh my God. I would like to see a race between him and Brady for 40 yards.
What happened before he took the mound is nothing compared to the
ending?
Yeah, it's what he does after he won. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't go in the stands and hug every single person in attendance.
Shirtless.
Listen, he's an excitable guy, and you can't listen. It's hard to begrudge a guy that puts that much energy into not just the performance or executing his job, but the celebration afterwards. My God, I'm exhausted watching the son of a gun. Exhausted. I'm still exhausted. Like 12 hours later.
I don't know if he has a beverage of choice, or if he does similar things that apparently people do in Vegas.
He's shirts, or he has whatever the hell
he possibly the starter for Saturday tomorrow.
What? No,
I mean, you don't want to get hammered on a Thursday night and then pitch on Saturday, do you?
Let me tell you something. I've told you already. If you look at the breakdown, his peripherals. I don't know what that created yesterday. This is what it created. It created the Dodgers playing. If you think the Dodgers just beat the best team in baseball, no matter what we talk about metrics. The metrics. Listen, the metrics are the metrics, and the metrics have told us all season long, regardless, that the Dodgers are head and shoulders the better team. Over a course of 162 games, they should have been 10 games better than anybody in that division, especially a team that most, and I would say the four of us, 1, 2, 3, 4, the three of us would have not projected to finish better than third in that, maybe third, and maybe even worse than that in NL West. Wrong or right? Right or wrong?
I think you're right, and I'll turn this over to Rob Vino after I say it. But this team reminded me, not in terms of their personality as a team, but it reminded me of the '93 Phillies that were picked to finish dead last. And look what they did. And it just reminds me of that when you have that chemistry, even though that was Lenny Dykstra,
Homer. There comes the home.
No, I'm just
out of him.
Name a team between the Giants and the '93 Phillies that have
overachieved.
Yeah, by this magnitude.
20 of them. Oh, this magnitude?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You can say the Baltimore Orioles overachieved.
I don't. It's hard. It's hard for me, and I'm gonna let Rob go. But it's hard really quickly. It's hard to use baseball, a season of baseball, and compare it to a season of 11 college football games or 16 NFL games, 17 now, let's say, and say that how important one game in baseball is comparatively to how important one game of football is no comparison. Over 162 football games. If they played 162 football games in an NFL season, it would thrill me to death. I would love every second of it, and I'm certain that the longevity a football player's lifespan would probably be about 100 games. It wouldn't even make it through a damn season. So my point is this: it's hard to compare the what you said. What was the last phrase you said was to this extreme, to this at this level. I can't do it, so you may be right. I'll do the thing.
I want to hear what Rob has to say, and I'm going to tee him up here a little bit I think this particular season, the Giants being in the same division as the Dodgers has really brought out the full bore potential of the Dodgers. Unfortunate for the rest of the teams that are in this playoff. And because LA had to play down the stretch and try to chase them down and didn't, and then had to beat them in 5 games, it's made them a better team. What do you think, Rob?
Well, I think it certainly shows you how much depth they have. I mean, you lose Clayton Kershaw, you lose Max Muncy, and you still go out there and you are where you are in the NLCS. You lose Trevor Bauer along the way. So it's a deep
May.
Dustin May, correct, Tony. Dustin May, you lose. So obviously they went out at the trade deadline and got themselves Scherzer and Turner to replace a couple of those. But they've lost a lot of pieces along the way. So they're just incredibly deep. And again, as a lifelong Dodgers fan, our manager for Los Angeles there tends to make you scratch your head. Not so much with, hey, listen, the decision to start Corey Knebel worked out real well. It put Gabe Kapler in some binds when it came to pinch hitting, when it came to switches. Dave Roberts wound up with the better matchups on the mound against certain hitters.
Yes, he did.
So that part of it worked out. I'm going to ask you guys this. You're managing the LA Dodgers. You've got first and third with one out and Chris Taylor up. And Chris Taylor's probably hitting 6 fly balls to the warning track in this series. And the infield comes in, and you decide at that point in time you're going to put on the safety squeeze. I mean, what kind of moron doesn't allow a guy who's shown you he can hit fly balls to the track at bat after at bat after at bat, and all you need is sacrifice fly to open it up 3-1 and give yourself a little breathing room? I think I'll make this guy bunt into a drawn-in infield, and we'll see what happens. He gets bailed out in more instances from stupid decisions, and he didn't make any pitching-wise last night. I think he pushed every right button where the pitching was concerned. But that particular one, which could have made life a lot easier in the 9th inning on that team, I don't understand. And, real quick, guys, because the topic of discussion on that game last night is obviously the check swing to end the game, right? Obviously, it wasn't. It was not a check swing. It was a check swing, excuse me.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't a swinging strike by any means. So they got the call wrong.
And it's not reviewable.
It's not reviewable. And,
wow.
Again, it shows that, Justin Turner has a 2-hop grounder to third. He's hugging the line. The ball's right in his glove, and somehow he manages to boot that. In order to set up the
defensive third baseman too. This is an average.
Yeah, he just doesn't make those
defensive. That's right. That's right.
Mistakes. And if he makes that play, we don't get to that at bat with the check swing. But that being what it is, it just shows that as a Dodger fan, I'm sitting there saying, "My God, these Giants are living such a charmed life." Turner boots that ball and then Lamont Wade, sure, then heck, hits one foul, but basically hits it out of the stadium off Max Scherzer. I'm thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me?
And then Max comes right back and goes down low and in against the left-handed hitter.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Max? Well, first off, Max missed some spots yesterday by 3 feet. Some pitches he missed by 3 feet.
He did in the last start, too.
He got a gift of a call
Game 3.
on the very first pitch of that inning. Upper right-hand corner was out of the zone.
Yeah.
And
But
he was wide all night long.
Yeah.
I give who was the home plate umpire last night, Tone? I'm forgetting who it was. It was
well, I'll tell you this.
All I could think of was Gabe Morales because he was the first base
Gabe
umpire.
Morales was the last time that May pitched, or not May, but the last time that Webb pitched. And let me tell you something. Gabe Morales gives the low strike. Yesterday's was I want to say it was Barrett, Ted Barrett.
He was part of the.
Well, I wrote about it. Am I supposed to know? I wrote it in my write-up because I took the Dodgers. And I thought it was. I waited after our show, and I won't take this long. And that was that the difference. While the strike zone was going to be bigger with Barrett, and you know what? I'll just tell you right now. I'm going to pull up while I'm talking. But long story short is this, and that is, it fit what the Dodgers were planning on doing. What they did do with what you described with essentially it was an opener, and it didn't fit Webb because Webb couldn't continue to throw that two-seamer or throw that sinker time and time and time again. because I'm making the assumption that somebody sat down the lineup and said, listen, anything that starts out at your waist, anything that Webb throws, and if it's at your waist, you just take. Mm-hmm. And because
Agreed.
if they would have done that if they're done with Webb, with Morales, when like you've mentioned Torres behind the plate, it'd have been a different story. So you're right. I thought if it was Barrett, and I think it was Barrett, and I'm going to pull up, but that first call you mentioned, you thought it was at a strike zone. He was giving. Listen, he gave to right-hand hitters yesterday.
That's right.
He gave the inside call and the high call, and he did not give it to. It was almost like he was like the K zone was 6 inches off. Right. It was almost like if you move that K zone over.
It was about a ball. I mean, it was the width of a ball.
I'm just saying
that's what I
saw. That's what I saw. And go on. I'll get you the umpire. Finish. What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm actually looking it up too.
Sideways, east-west, horizontally.
Yeah.
He gave room on both sides consistently all game. I think that's why we didn't see either dugout bitching a lot. There was no bitching that I'm not getting the calls and the other guy's getting the calls. If you were within reasonable distance horizontally, you got a strike call last night. There were gifts for both sides. But as far as the up and down goes, like Tony said, you needed to be inside the zone.
Oh, it was Doug Eddings. I'm sorry.
Vertically.
Doug Eddings.
Doug Eddings. He's a veteran. Been around forever.
Oh, he has. Listen, he's nothing. He's not super big K zone, but he's absolutely a veteran. He's not going to, whatever he starts calling strikes, it's going to be a strike in the ninth inning. And he was very consistent yesterday, as you guys just described. So.
And that's all you ask for. If you're up to the plate, at least you understand. You know what? He's going to give an inch on the outside corner. I got to go use the bat. Corey Seager did it to get that hit. He just punched that thing to left field. Again, and I'm getting way into the weeds here too much, but it just frustrates me that guys refuse to hit the ball where the ball is pitched. I mean,
I know.
Trying to pull off of the outside corner and rolling it over. And Trey Turner, give me a break with those first two at-bats. Give me a break. And Chris Taylor, outside pitch, rolling over to third base. Come on, just punch the ball to right field.
All of them. Bellinger was fortunate. He ticked a few balls, or he was the strikeout victim again. His swing is max effort, long swing, every single. It doesn't matter whether there's no strikes or two strikes. It's so.
It's what his dad wants him to do.
Well, listen, if I did what my dad wanted me to do, I'd be a damn doctor or try to be a doctor. Dad, I don't mind listening to my dad.
If you take
at least a pharmacist.
If you take your Sony Bravia, John Ryan, take your big screen television because you have the capability to slow down and freeze frames. And when Bellinger got that hit, actually I was sitting with my oldest son and he picked it up for me. He goes, "Did you see Cody Bellinger was choking up on the bat?" And I couldn't believe it. When you slow it down, his hands are off the knob. They're up, almost like he was trying to make some contact. It's amazing.
And he had two strikes on him?
What's that?
Two strikes on him?
Yeah. He fought off a lot of pitches.
He fouled off 5 or 6 pitches to get to that. Listen, that's a bat. He hit it hard enough that reduces a lot of the bad ball luck. But when he hit it off the bat before they took the frame from the plate to the field, I thought it was hit right at the second baseman.
Right.
We always taught that. That was part of the mantra of the baseball academy. Is that with 2 strikes on you, you choke up.
Shorten your swing.
Yeah, you leave your ego go in the parking lot, first of all. You choke up and you crowd the plate.
He still swung hard. Don't get me wrong. He swung with everything, but he was choked up on the bat at least.
At least makes the barrel faster through the strike zone when you choke up at that level. But
it gives you more bat control. The bat to the ball.
Why?
I'm just fouling balls off. I'm just trying to foul off until I get the pitch. It's in my hot zone, or hopefully we walked.
Right.
That's all I'm doing.
In the laws of physics, and I believe it's still true, unless I missed the email on it, a curveball has more spin than a fastball. We'll agree with that, right? Because of the spin, a right-handed batter with a right-handed pitcher, if he goes with that pitch, that is where the maximum distance for a home run can be hit. Because the reverse spin then with a bat is magnified, it's augmented, and backspin is what makes the ball stay in the air longer than if you hit it with no spin or knuckle, Right. But a
Velocity can
fastball at 100 miles an hour will not travel as far opposite field as a curveball will if the batter knows how to go with the pitch.
Well, there's a lot of
To Rob's
variables, man.
point.
I'm not physics.
So why
I'm
would
not
you?
physics.
Why wouldn't you want to do that if you were Cody Bellinger? I mean, who's
It's not
telling
sexy.
him that?
It's not sexy, and it doesn't get
Oh,
you extra money from sponsors, et cetera, et cetera.
it was sexy when Bonds and A-Rod did it and hit it, 480 feet
No, I'm not
opposite
saying you're
field.
wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying
Right.
this is reality. This is the age we live in. It's home runs and strikeouts. That's it.
You know my pet
The
peeve.
guy-
I know your pet peeve with the owners. My pet peeve is with this
I know it is.
bullshit launch angle, and it's all that is.
Yeah.
Look at the strikeout rate this
It
year.
surprises me coming from an NIT elitist like you.
NIT
And let's
or
face
MIT?
Huh?
A
NIT?
couple of the
NIT?
Or MIT?
NIT. Oh, no, I'm sorry. NIT is
I thought you were talking about basketball there for a
MIT.
second. Ah,
No, yeah, exactly.
a couple of
Yeah.
the bigger hits last night, guys, were from left-handed hitters
Yeah.
who just hit the ball where it was pitched. Brandon
Yep.
Crawford beat the shift between short and third by just punching it that way because that's where Arias threw the pitch.
Very
And we'll just
forceful.
push it out there.
Crawford's
and-
leadoff line drive. Very, if that's 2 or 3 feet either side of that, it's not a hit. It may be a double. Crawford.
Well, I mean,
He
and
crushed it.
that being that's true too. But in the first inning,
Oh,
Mookie
yeah.
Betts leads off with a single, and Corey Seager crushes one, same as
Yeah.
Crawford did. And there's Darren Ruff standing in the left center field alley, just about. I'm like, why? Either they have the best advanced scouting in the universe, or I mean,
Well,
the guy's right there. I thought it
there's
was
the
going to be
argument.
1-0.
That's your argument.
I do too.
To,
I do too.
To John, those are metrics they use word position players, and they use
Mhm.
metrics on launch angles and stuff like that. Listen, these guys, I know his beef. I feel his beef. I give up beefing about my beef on that.
Right.
For the simple reason is that those are metrics that these guys are paid millions of dollars, John.
Right.
They can't. A billion Chinese can't be wrong, can they?
No, it's just for people like us, it's harder
Well,
to
it
watch
is.
because we've
is
seen
hard.
Rod Carew, because we've seen Wade Boggs, because we've seen Tony Gwynn, because we've seen all these guys.
I just gave up fighting it,
And- Yeah, you have to, because it's what they're taught nowadays from a young age. It's what they're taught. So it's not changing anytime soon.
Yeah.
What are you going to
No,
do?
I agree.
It's just frustrating.
John,
Guys,
certainly. Listen, we aren't the three of us. I promise you, unless some of you guys, one of you guys have like, $50 million buried in some hole somewhere, we aren't even going to make this a dent in how these major leaguers are going to approach an at bat. It's going to become more mathematical and more ridiculous by the year.
and then they fire hitting coaches for teaching what the organization wants them to teach.
Yeah.
It's
We
crazy.
gave you the instructions. How come you can't
Yeah.
execute them?
I mean, it's crazy. But
Well,
we're on to a next series.
And I'll mention to you yesterday, real quickly, with Dave Matthews. I left. I sat here in my office studio until a certain time, and I had to go do something. So I said, you know what? I'm going to swing by one of my favorite watering holes, which my wife happened to be at last night. And
Nice.
sitting, it was packed. I walked in. I said, I'm going to leave. And then a seat came open next to a guy we call the commissioner. The commission. He's an older man. He's about 10 years my senior. So imagine, I'm old. The commission's Dave is in his 70s, but he's an ex-season ticket holder for the Dodgers. He's had believe it or not, listen, he had a butcher shop in L.A. for years and years and years. Saw guys like, listen, Long Beach, Steve Busby, when Steve Busby was still in high school and college. The stories that the commission have are incredible. The people he knows. He was on the phone when I was out there with Dan Fouts when I went to sit down next to him, because his daughter is married, or his niece is married to Dan Fouts. This guy is connected beyond, and really a huge Dodgers fan. But he doesn't believe, this real short, we don't get on too long, but the commission does not believe Dave Roberts even does lineups. He believes all that stuff is computerized in that office right now, that they're so metrically and technically oriented, and and involved that he doesn't think Dave does the lineups. Next year, here's what he told me. He said, Tony, it's a difficult to fire Dave Roberts, even if they wanted to, because of the success he's had. There's too many Joe Publics that would have issue with it. Okay, and he said, he's not in no way, shape, or form is he a racist. He's a Jewish butcher that is connected, and I love him. He's a good guy, man. But we can sit down and talk baseball. He and I can talk baseball for stupid hours and talk about nothing that anybody else wouldn't even understand. But long story short, is he says that the end of his contract is next year, at the end of that contract, and he believes that that's the way Dave is going to exit the Dodgers manager, is that after next year and his contract expires, that Dave will take another position within the organization and somebody else will come in and lead the show. So here you heard it first here. That's from a guy who I believe he has pretty good he's got his arms wrapped around that team and that community and the people he knows. You know, it's when he talks, I listen. So
yeah, and I mean, because let's face it, anybody, again, like you said to start with, Tone, anybody who knows anything about baseball, you watch enough Dodger baseball and you realize that Dave Roberts is in that position because he gets along with his 25 guys in the dugout. That's his job, is to keep everybody happy, to keep everybody motivated. Those players love him, and I'm sure they would revolt if he were ever to get canned. They would revolt.
Yeah,
if he leaves on his own terms, that's another story.
But he did say this. You're right. He did say that. He said that exactly. He said, "Listen, the players love Dave Roberts, man.
Yeah,
they love Dave Roberts.
That's evident."
And he said, and I'm not saying that they don't want to fire him because he's black, because part of the leadership in that Dodgers organization is black. They're not going to fire him because he's black. We're talking about Magic Johnson. So, but long story, he said they just really don't want to right now. He said in this climate that we live in, he said it's not going to happen. Listen, Dave would have had to probably miss the playoffs completely. They won. What did they win? 105 games? What was it? 105, 106 games?
106.
Yeah.
People,
the all-time record.
Yeah. I mean,
for a reigning world champion.
I said, listen, you want to know a good organization? I don't like them. I don't like the way they do a lot of things. But St. Louis is a good baseball organization, and they just fired a manager that won 17 straight games to get in the playoffs. And so you figure it out.
Tone, I read that article from the St. Louis Dispatch.
Post-Dispatch. Yeah,
yesterday. And that whole article tells you that somewhere along the line there was a disagreement between Schilt and Mozeliak, and if you dare to cross Mozeliak, he just cans you. I mean, that was the gist of the whole article. Whoever the next manager is, just know that you better yes this guy to death, or else you're next on the chopping block. And I didn't realize that about John Mozeliak. I thought he was a really good general manager, but obviously he's a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship over there, and what he says goes. That guy he's not just some 2-year manager. Schilt has been with that organization for almost 24 years, from a scout all the way to manager, and listen, you just
that
crap on him like
Robbie,
that.
Yeah, whatever it takes. He may be whatever kind of person or boss or leader he is. I don't know. I don't know him, and right. I rarely make a distinction or an opinion on a person if I don't really know him. I obviously we're doing it. My opinion of Dave Roberts is not about Dave Roberts as a person. My opinion on Dave Roberts is the decisions that he's made as a baseball manager. That's it. He may, I don't know Dave. So when we do that, when we get on the shows like this and we make those kind of, we rant and rave or whatever it may be, or give a guy 10 butt flats. Yeah, as far as we know, he could be going home and beating his dog. We don't know. So
all we know is their public persona,
That's
right? That's all we know is their work. We're judging them on the quality of their work. Mozeliak, I don't know at all. And the writer may have the writer of that article may have an axe to grind with Mozeliak. Who knows?
Absolutely.
And maybe that's why it's slanted that way. But I had never heard that about him. And I just, that firing came from left field. And how do you fire that guy?
Here's the deal. Yeah. If it's not for that, listen, if it's not for that, I thought they played to who I thought they were going to be. I lost my future. I had the under 86.5, which was listen, to start September, it was a deadlock winter.
Mm-hmm.
I did the math. They had to go like 19-6 or something. They did.
And the schedule wasn't in their favor.
They're not going to do it with Ty Cobb and Cy Young pitching. I mean, they're 100 years old. I mean, really? Who was it? Smiley? Who was it? No, who did they pick up?
J.A. Happ.
Happ and Leiter. I keep saying out
Lester.
Lester.
Not Lester.
I mean,
Lester.
And Lester, listen, hats off. I'm taking my glasses off. Listen to me. Hats off to the St. Louis Cardinals. They got John Lester to actually throw to first base.
Yeah.
From the mound.
Yep.
Listen.
Just checking my headset here. Tell me to recharge it.
Man walking on the moon. Did we lose Rob?
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
I can't see Rob.
I think he might have got buzzed for that Missouri radio show.
Oh, yeah. I bet he did.
The St. Louis or whatever it was.
And you know what? We don't have, are we expecting anybody else today?
We were, but yeah, how it is.
I don't know anything. Ask anybody. They'll tell you. I don't know anything.
It would have been somebody making their debut, so I think sometimes it's they want to see how badly behaved we are.
To come on a show with John Ryan and anybody but me. Nobody's going to.
I mean, you are coming on the show with the #1 football guy over at Sports Memo and the all-time money maker at Wager Talk. I mean,
yeah, that's we're only as good as what we did today.
Yeah, we're kind of welcoming guys, aren't we? Like, we're not intimidating.
Me?
We're not like.
Oh no, I'm not welcoming. I'm not a guy that would. You come to my front door. If I invited you in, you better think twice about it. Why is he invited?
Well, I mean, there's times and place for everything.
If I invited me into my living room, I ain't going to live with you. I'm not going to live with you.
Is that along the lines of you never mow another guy's lawn unless he, asks you and then pays you appropriately?
I'm not doing it anyway. If anybody, like when if all my friends, I'm notorious. This is one thing I do. They'll ask me to help them move. I'm not helping you move. I will pay for 2 men in a truck. I'm not helping you move.
That's it. Moving is by far.
I don't ask anybody to help me to move. Why? Because I don't want anyone asking me. So,
the college thing was horrifitic.
What?
When you move your kids to college and then back and move them back.
Well, guess what?
Wow.
I did. Maybe that's the one thing I probably did correctly, and that was I didn't have to move them. My wife and I bought in the town that we knew they were going to go to school at. We bought the condominium. It was furnished, everything in there. We did that for really for reasons because in a college town it was going to cost for what the girls had.
Yeah,
it was about $1,400 or $1,500 a month to rent, and we put some money down, and our mortgage. We just put a small mortgage on that. It was like $400 a month, and when we sold it. We got a good. We bought.
I didn't lose money on the deal. It probably made money.
We did. Money. We made money, which was
very smart.
A lot of people don't have that. Listen, a lot of people don't have the wherewithal and to, put 30 or 40,000. 30. And this is what it was. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, townhouse that was on the bus route to the school. They never had to drive. The cars would sit in the parking lot, and they were 5 blocks from downtown, which means all the eateries, all the bars, all the things that college kids want to have. The really nice situation. But it's in a town that's still they won't even have a mall in the town. The city won't allow a mall because they're afraid it's going to destroy the small businesses, the mom and pop businesses that town is famous for. And which is shocking. I mean, they have 2 Walmarts, and Walmart's. They're most famous.
Never heard of them.
They're most famous for pretty much killing mom and pop outfits like hardware stores, those kind of things that before Walmart, hardware stores were pretty important.
We still have a couple in our hometown.
Yeah.
We're kind of lucky that way, but
I agree.
You're right though.
I don't like Walmart.
I always remember when Sam Walton split up his will.
Really?
I believe he has 7 kids, right? And they became all in the top 10 wealthiest people in the world at that time.
Yep.
Instantaneously.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And he did drive a pickup truck. It was a 1970-something pickup truck, and a flannel shirt is what he wore to work.
Lamar Hunt, when to the day he retired, took a sack lunch to work.
Yeah.
That's the. I mean, a lot of people say, well, you may not like the guy in front of you that's got a handful of coupons, and you got to wait for him to bring up all those damn coupons. But and what we don't know about that guy is maybe he's got $100 million in the bank. One of the reasons he has $100 million, that's because he uses coupons. Part of the reason he uses coupons.
It's part of the reason.
So we can't. It's hard for us to. I don't like it when people write a check.
Yeah.
Right? Oh my God! I'm not getting behind that lady. I know she's going to write a check, and we're going to be in that line for like 20 minutes. That's the horrible. What we've produced, our culture is pretty impatient and hurry up and wait kind of thing, But it is what it is. Speaking of those, you being a Philly Homer fan, I need you to make that call, and I just go ahead and have them fucking put some dynamite by that office, because I'm writing. I'll tell you what happened. I'm writing this real quick call. I'm hoping to get it done and get it to the powers that are at Wager Talk, the great Sir James, Lord James, and such. But the column, I'm gonna have to figure out how to cut it down, because I'm a little bit wordy, and I start getting, I start getting off the path, off the beaten path, off the journey, off the shortest distance between 2 points kind of thing, and. But it all comes down to not just the NFL season, the changes we've had, the COVID last year. You go all the way back to 2001. Go back to the Twin Tower things. To some degree, we still have repercussions in sports, and how things are handled, and how Isaac Newton's the third law comes into play here, and that's every reaction. Every action, has reaction, and chaos. It's been chaotic football season. I keep getting all these people saying, "Listen, Tony, don't worry. The chaos will lessen and will come back to more of a normality." And I keep telling them I disagree. When you've gotten this far off the path. Chaos is, if you look up the definition of chaos, or the formula, and you would probably know better than me, but in truth, it's basically the difference between the equations. Basically, it's sensitive to dependence and on initial conditions. So,
yep.
Guess what?
You have to have a baseline.
We're so far off initial conditions that it's going to be just as chaotic the rest of the year. And for somebody like us, it's mission critical for me that I understand that the true laws, or the true odds, John, so do you, of a coin flip. However, there's an independence. There's a variable. There's an independent variable in everything that doesn't make that coin flip 50-50. Who's flipping it? Where's the wind? If you know the little
spin rate,
if you know the little differences, had we known, listen. And I know, and this was not they went for 2 yesterday when it was 28-20. No reason to go for 2. No mathematical reason to go for 2. However,
so I told Teddy.
However, you see, if we were a fly in that locker room or in that office, we would know that this was a possibility. This wasn't random. They had been very successful in 2-point conversions. I think they have, what have they done? 4 of them this year so far, Every single time they've been successful. If they believe, and I think being the math guy, you are a math guy, anyone listening is that if you feel like you have a 65, 70% chance of making a 2-point conversion, then guess what? There's no reason to kick the 1 point. You just go for 2 every time. Because long term, you're gonna score more points. I don't know that. Or I don't lay 7.
It's the consequence of your thinking heads is coming up and tails comes up with the 2-point conversion being 14 down. My headset just died. Hold on 1 second. I'll put on my other speaker here. Can you hear me, Tony?
I can.
Okay, excellent. Realistically, I mean, you might see somewhere where it says 49% success rate on 2-pointers from 2014 to 2019. But you also have to factor in the situation. Were they ahead by 5 and wanted to make it 7? The probabilities then of success are greater when you're in the lead than when you're behind. And when you're behind by 14, I think, as I was saying on the Sirius XM show, you got to thank your lucky stars to be within 7 with 3.5 minutes to go instead of rolling the dice and being down 8.
Listen, they were lucky to be, and I'd like to hear you now. Right now, I'm echoing from the way you're listening.
That's okay. Let me.
That's all right. That's all right.
I can change it.
Don't worry about it. But
keep going.
My point is this: all those situations you mentioned, every situation is different, and
right.
What I'm saying is, had I known that, listen, we might just use if I know a team is going to be one of those teams that tries to execute 2-point conversions at randomly, it's never random. I don't care what people tell you.
Yeah.
They didn't decide. Peterson didn't decide. He didn't decide to do that yesterday randomly. Something during the week said, listen, this is a team that we can have success against with 2-point conversions where we may not have success against the Bears or some other team simply because of scheme and player personnel. All these are basically independent factors.
Right.
Independent factors that are not that make a coin flip, that make anything that's 50-50, the roll of a dice, for instance. We all know the odds of rolling 7 are the same every time you roll a dice, except when a different person rolls the dice, or you roll the dice in a 50-mile-an-hour wind. Listen, there are some things that affect it. I'm being a little bit.
No, I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? I'm embellishing situations, but
if Sirianni really believed that was the case, then I can show you analytics that would say then he really effed up and he should have gone for 2 on the first touchdown.
Well,
if you're in that mode, you should have gone for 2 right away.
Yeah, we can twist analytics like we can twist if you got a piece of raw clay. And the goal is to make it. The goal is to make it a functional bowl. Okay, the probabilities are pretty high that you can do that, even without. The probabilities are pretty damn high. Here's the deal: is the person making that bowl? Does he have hands? He doesn't have hands. There's just too many little things. There's too many little things. We can twist a piece of clay and screw it up. We can screw up the probability. You can twist metrics to look anything you want, but
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
You're watching people play roulette.
Yep.
Red comes up 8 times in a row.
Doesn't matter.
It's mutually exclusive, right? But see the better, the amateur better, the non-knowing better will all of a sudden go, oh my God, Red's going to come up for the rest of the night. But it's mutually exclusive. It doesn't matter that it doesn't mean that black is due to hit. It does not mean it. However, in sports betting, we have several teams now that are undefeated, and you can say, oh well, they're due to lose. Well, first of all, what I think is a good thing to do is if let's say one team 6-0 has covered the spread in those 6 games, 5 of the 6 times by a margin of 50 or more points.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're pleasing the public better. The other team, 6-0, has only covered the spread and actually is only 3-3 against the number and is actually -5 total margin against the spread. The one with the minus has more of a chance of going 7-0 than the team that covered the spread by 50 points. And I'm talking about versus the spread, because they could be favored by 25 and obviously they'll win straight up, but they won't cover. That's the difference between the coin flip and what we see with the sports betting trends.
Well, all that changes. See, that's everything. Every single, again, the rate of unpredictability doesn't lessen in the climate of degradation. It's exponential. It doesn't lessen. The fact that somebody says to you, "Well, the season's been kind of crazy," it can't help revert or regress to what we would consider normal, right? To normality. It's not true. Not true. And the roulette instance you brought, that example, the guy that has the ball and puts it in the wheel and it's turning, right? Until it stops and the ball falls out. When did he hit the little black button under the roulette table that determines where it comes? There's 100 million things that determine results. And unless the more information that you and I have, the more chance if we have half a brain, the better chances we have of predicting the outcome. And that's all we do is if we were taking just probability, if we were taking just the fact that if we were predicting coin flips, we have to have there's some part of our skill set that has to give us an edge over Joe Public, as you just described. So what is it? And are you going to share it with me? Am I going to share it with you? Most of it has to do with and I'll agree with you on many things. I ignore my gut instinct. I run from it like the plague. Gut instinct is a losing proposition. It's based on bias, and that's the one problem. Here's another thing we shouldn't even look at, although I do some columns, we do look at it because we write about it, and we have to talk about it. And that is, before the season starts, we can spend all summer talking about what a team's supposed to do, what we expect them to do based on history, and based on skill set. And then all of a sudden we have these other factors come into play. Well, we had to make decisions on, that being preconceived notions are also negative in our business.
Right.
And polls that have one team ranked second and one team unranked, then how possibly could the team that's unranked be a favorite over the team that's ranked second, right?
Right.
Well, then there's the handicap. All these little things that we have to know what to filter, what to ignore, what to pay attention to, and insert into the equation, and hope. That's what we do. Now, I think the only thing I do really well, I don't think I'm very smart, and surely not smarter than the average bear. Boo Boo said I wasn't. He told me I wasn't smarter than the average bear. And the things that I have done, the things we do, have made me successful because I'm able to, step back and ignore some things that most people pay attention to that they shouldn't. So, those little 50-50. Every game is 50-50. It's supposed to be 50-50 with the handicap. I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yep.
Well, even if it is, there's something other than your gut that tells you to lean one way or the other. It better be something other than your gut, or wow, what a tough. Either you're going to get a lot of drive-bys on your Twitter account, or somebody's going to actually kill you.
True. I was just trying to look up those 2-point conversions. I'll run that over the weekend.
Yeah,
we'll have fun with that on Monday.
Again, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that it was a right choice or wrong choice. Mathematically, in my situation, here's my situation, I considered that a winner. I thought it was a good chance to win. That's when I headed down because I wanted to watch the last part of the baseball game. Okay, with at my watering hole because I had a feeling that there might be some interesting people there that I know and I like to talk to. And I don't call them. We don't text. Nothing like that. We are face to face and I have those conversations with them, and they're worth a lot to me because, like I said, listen. But story long is that all I did was I looked at my phone walking in and it said 28 to 20, and it was that way for the whole walk. And I was parked quite a ways away. And I thought, well, maybe they missed the extra point, so that was good, right? No, what I didn't know was they were going for two, and when I got in, it was 28-22. Well, the first question I asked was, why did they go for two? And was there a penalty? Did the ball get moved up to the 1.5 yard line as opposed to the 3? What happened? And this is what this is what I heard. Here's what I said. Tony, they had +7. They didn't want to push. They wanted to win. So I said, okay, you're probably right. I said, the coach has got +7 points. I said, you're probably damn right. Yeah, right. So that may be, listen, there's just another independent variable that if you have that information, then you're not going to be on Tampa Bay. You're either not going to play or you're going to take the 7 points because you know the coach in that situation is going to do something unexpected.
It's something that's become an more important number to analyze. But
what
if Tampa Bay kicks that short field goal there at the end, though? The total goes over and they cover.
Yes, that's right. Listen, and here's the deal. I don't like that. However, had I been on the other side, I probably would have said, that's the right thing to do because I'm collecting. So
right. Well, that's true.
I never even, when you brought that up today at the first show, I said to you, I've forgotten about it. If I spend time and energy worrying about why Philly did what they did, I'd like to know. And if I can get that intel on why they did what they did, I'll take the intel gladly. But it's a waste. I'm surely not going to search it out. Nor am I going to say, cuss at my neighbor because, he had Philly, and I'm betting against it. And I'm going to take 15 minutes of my life to tell him what an idiot they are and what he is for betting on Philly. It's a waste of time, right?
Did a survey on Twitter. Were the Eagles dominated or did they have a chance to win? It was 80% they were dominated.
They were.
So far. It stops tomorrow.
Who was dominating?
I said, were the Eagles dominated?
Yes,
or
they were.
Did the Eagles actually fight back and have a chance?
No, they were dominated. And listen, Tampa Bay made some mistakes. They made some mistakes. Some of the decisions they made didn't work out for us. They still won. That's the end goal. That's the end game for them. So for most of the time, other than college football, which I believe happens much more than NFL, obviously, is they have boosters. Players, coaches have relationships with boosters who are gamblers. And there's certain situations in college football, I promise you, where they do some things that after the game, if they have to explain it, it's listen, I'm coaching. I'm coaching my players up for the next game. When that situation arises, we may not be up 30. Okay, we may be down. Yeah, exactly. But that's easy. It's easy to explain off. There's a guy here that works for Wager Talk. Okay, I'm not saying names. He works for Wager Talk, but one of his jobs, at least it used to be 5 or 6, 7 years ago when I knew him and worked with him, he worked for the NCAA, and his job was he reviewed films to if there was any questions about coaches, maybe shaving points, basically gambling or doing those kind of things. That was his job to pick those things out.
Yeah,
those things don't exist as much anymore today because why? Because it's more socially acceptable too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But why don't we do our?
Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's do our sports show best bet. I gave back a little bit, going 3-4 with my, or was it 2? No, it was 3-4 with my my prop bets.
Okay.
No, it was 2-3. It was 2-3. I gave back 15
bucks. You remember what I had for my free pick yesterday? You don't remember. You don't remember what I said? When I gave the free pick out?
Over 55. Yeah, that was a bad beat.
Well, you remember, no, here's what I said. I said that had climbed above 50. Remember, I said I don't like that number. And I looked at it. I don't know what the fourth. I thought it was a dead winner when I first looked at it because I thought we had a whole fourth quarter to score 7 points, 6 points, whatever it was. Yeah. So, but I knew I was concerned about it. I was.
They scored
So
a total of 17 points in the second half. They scored 35, I guess it was, or 38.
And I haven't looked. I'll look. I will be looking at
Crazy
that tonight, but I will be looking at the box score because I'll be curious to look at the box score. I didn't watch that game. I watched live. I'll watch some of that game on tape. But last night I watched Tampa Bay, Philly, obviously, and I was very interested in Dave Roberts and the Dodgers. Yeah. Because in short, John, who the Dodgers have now, they do have to go to Atlanta because they were the wild card. Even though they had a much better record than Atlanta, they're the wild card. Atlanta wins the division. The best division in baseball back in last December, the best division in baseball, the NL East. May have been the Atlanta fell. Listen, they won that division because they were the least, or they were the best of the least.
That's right.
Yeah, and
I see it's 5 games.
In truth, guess what? I'm going to say every single game, every single game, the Dodgers are going to be favored between 130 and 230, even maybe on the road. That's right. Yep, that's right. So that would be tonight, for instance. Do we know who the story? I mean, you know the situation tonight, right?
Yeah, Eovaldi against Garcia.
That's tonight's game. I meant game 1 for Atlanta and Dodgers.
Well, actually, that game is taking place now, right?
Which one? Oh, the baseball game?
Yeah.
I'll pull it up. I don't remember the starting time. It was no,
it's tonight.
Yeah, they wouldn't have a day game.
No.
Well, see, I have this, so I'm gonna find out real quick. I waited until this time. Typically, it doesn't start until for another 2 hours. But I heard that Sale was going to pitch. I'm showing now that Sale is pitching, and it's against Valdez. Now,
wow.
Yeah, so it's much different what you just described. See, and I'm showing right now it is Sale against Valdez.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
And Houston is a $140 to $150 favorite, depending on your shop, over Sale.
Well, I was going to give out my Boston pick as the free pick for the show.
Okay.
Thinking that Eovaldi, I haven't had time to look because I did the Sirius XM thing, and that airs on Saturdays. If anybody cares to listen, it's kind of fun.
Right. Okay.
And you have your show tonight, right?
I do. I have tonight's XM with the legend, Gabe Morency, the legend.
Oh wow!
Gabe Morency is Gabe's a death metal. He was in a death metal band, as a young man, and morphed. He was always a sports fan, but morphed into being maybe the shock jock, the Canadian shock jock sports radio. Yeah, I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun on that show. Yeah,
channel 204, folks.
204. Yes, I have a lot of fun because Gabe puts up with me, and he and because we have a lot in common. I'm still a little bit older than Gabe, not much, but we have some of the same. We just have a lot in common. So I don't have a filter. He puts up with me. I talk about anything. I speak my mind, and while on this show I have to be a little bit more. Here's the deal: it's publicly broadcast in San Diego and the West Coast because of the time. It's late night. It's late night with Gabe. That the producer has on a few occasions pulled me over and said, Tony, we're dealing with the FFA. Basically, we're dealing with some conditions that you in the past have not had to deal with Gabe. And I said, I'll do my best to fuck it up worse. I trust me.
That's excellent.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah,
okay, so
cool.
My pick tonight was going to be Houston. And I would rather but that was going to be going in truth. Listen, Houston doesn't strike out, John. You know that. They are the best American League team weighted against left-handed pitching as well. Okay. They're doing everything pretty much right. They improved their bullpen just enough during the deadline that picking up the Seattle's best. It's funny how Seattle trades away their best bullpen arm, and they're still in contention there to the end, right? And so that's really all we have. But I'm going to do something different. There's a game that I really liked and I didn't release, mostly because of the number. Again, this is very similar to last night. Okay. I thought this would be about a 7 in that area number, and it was. It opened up -8. It's now at -10 or 10.5, and that is San Diego State, San Jose State. Listen, San Jose State's one of those teams that went into the Mountain West last year and won it all undefeated, right? Undefeated. Yep. Terrific story. Okay. I thought that some of that would carry over in this year. And if you look at the final score of their first game, it was against USC. And it ended up losing by 20 something. I had San Jose State plus 14. I assure you this much. I still, after the first game of the season, believe San Jose was going to be backable. It's not the case. This team, if you watch them, they're not very good. And San Diego State, not that San Diego State is any juggernaut, but San Diego State does some things that are detrimental to backing San Jose State. I like the road team here tonight, San Diego State, -10.
I like it too.
Yeah.
I'm just jotting down a note here because of the change in pitchers. So,
yeah.
I've talked about Chaz McCormick.
Yes, I know you have. Uh-huh.
And he will be in the starting lineup, I believe.
Well, is Myers hurt? Is he on the roster? Is he on this? Is he on the?
Well, I forget how they platoon this, but he's right-handed bat, and
they're both.
Valdez is lefty, right?
I think. Here's the deal with that. They were kind of interchangeable parts. There was Myers, there was McCormick, and then there was Tucker, who's turned out to be really the gem of that youth of that part of this. This Tucker's been good, okay? Yep. And they all play the outfield, and they're interchangeable for the most part. But you're right, and they don't. The one thing about Dusty is that he doesn't really care too much about the righty lefty kind of stuff. There's so many pitchers now that have these reverse.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah, they have reverse platoon numbers, and you just never. It's dynamic. It is crazy, complex. Everything the metrics nowadays. So we go by history. In this case, I don't want to be left-handed face Sale. Personally, a big guy like that, tall, it almost looks like he's handing the ball to the catcher when they're pitching to you. You've been there.
It looks like he's in the lineup.
Okay.
As best I can see. So I guess I can preface this bet as a.
There you go.
If he starts.
Well, here's the. I get a guy who gets some information, and I get that. Now he's pretty accurate. He's not always accurate, but let's put it this way. I see McCormick hitting 9th, or hitting 8th.
8th. Yep. So do I.
And Maldonado hitting 9th. Now let me go to my email for you real quick, and I'll tell you if he has the same thing. Wow,
he's listed on DraftKings too.
Guess what? The guy has it. He had not only does he have it sent to me, he said this is confirmed, Tony. Confirmed. So it is. It is Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Alvarez, Correa, Tucker, Gurriel, McCormick, Maldonado.
All right, so I got 2 on McCormick, and obviously this isn't coming from my models, but that McCormick hits a home run at 6-1,
right,
and then he gets a hit at 1-1,
right,
and those are my 2 for the show.
I mean, the starting lineup has 3. They have 3 left-handed bats in that Houston lineup, starting just 3 lefties, and that's because Tucker has done such a great job, and they're limited.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that maybe I'll have to look at this up. That when Myers hit that wall the other night, that maybe he was not. Maybe they decided not to put him on the roster, the championship, the ALCS. So
that would be a shame for that kid. I mean, that would really be a shame. It looked like a collarbone issue, but he was throwing the ball after the collision. They didn't take him out of the game until. Every time he thought that he was going to throw the baseball, his shoulder was going to pop out, but it didn't. But still, he was obviously in a lot of pain.
Here is the Houston bench. I'm just going to the official website so we can, and I should know that already, but I have not addressed this series that much because I've been so busy with football and such, and I'm not a big, listen, I really like Tampa Bay. All my handicapping, everything I did was based around Tampa Bay being in this championship series, and they're not. I always found Boston to be difficult to handicap. For me, they were difficult.
Yep.
Most of the time, if I played against them, not on them. So that was easier for me, should I say? Which makes no sense, right? Here's the deal. Here's your roster, and Myers is on the roster. So John, he listen. He is he throws right, or he bats right and he throws left.
Yep.
But Tucker bats left. The reason that Tucker's in the lineup tonight probably is because Myers still not quite ready to
You would have to think so, right? Otherwise, he'd be in.
And they like Tucker. I mean, they have a lot of faith in Tucker. So, yeah. So, what's your picks?
McCormick's 6-1 that he hits a home run.
Okay, that's nice. I like that payoff.
He's got 15 or 16 on the season, I do believe. He's got some pop.
Yeah.
And 1-1 odds that he gets a hit. And I will also throw out there one of my premium 4%ers is of the three that I have going tomorrow is on Tennessee Volunteers to win outright against the Mississippi
Ole Miss.
Yep, Ole Miss.
I think that's I consider that. I don't know your whole process, but I would say this. I played Tennessee under the win total for the year, and they have done a couple things that are contrary to what I believe they do. So not that this will shock me, but I'll say this much to you right now, and that is, as much as I like the way they played, that maybe someone can sell to me they bought Heupel's system. Look, they here's what I wrote about it.
They've done something.
Here's what I wrote about it. I said, don't buy this. Don't buy that all of a sudden this group of players who lost more players to the transfer portal, lost more 5-star recruits through the portal than any team in college football by a large margin. Yep. All of a sudden just had some alien technology and has soaked up Heupel's system so well that they can do to Ole Miss what they did to Missouri. Missouri, the most horrendous team against the run. Tennessee led 28-3 after the first quarter in that game, and they'd only thrown the ball 6 times.
Yeah, so, that's one of the reasons I like them.
Yeah,
and I think Mississippi is in just a bad spot.
Maybe I'm not a situational player like that. See, I'm not a situational camper like that. But I will say this: I don't think it's so much. I don't think Tennessee. Everything has to work perfectly for Tennessee to win outright. What is the line in that game? It's
4.5, I think.
Yeah. If I'm on this game, doesn't really matter. If I'm on this game, I'm on Ole Miss or I'm not involved for lots of reasons. One is on teams that I have futures on. I avoid playing them unless something.
Yeah, because you're adding more risk.
Well, no, not that as much as I find myself to be a bit biased. But
that makes sense too.
It's preconceived. Yep. I have preconceived things that I bet the future that I don't want to carry over, but I'm human, and it's hard sometimes to ignore. I do a good job. I just avoid it. That's what I do. So good. I'll root for you then. I don't care. I'll just make you pay back the money. On my future.
I look at it this way. I try to teach all the new customers that I've gotten, over at Sports Memo, and I tell them, first of all, it's been a great streak, but when I give out 3 plays, there are 3 individual plays.
Yeah.
I don't know which ones are going to win. I don't know if I'm going to go 3-0. The expectation is 2-1 or 3-0. Strange things happen, but it's just one set of 3 picks on one day over a 365-day period.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. Just like I feel the same way with Texas A&M beating Alabama last week.
Yeah.
and that's over. That game is
over.
over. That
Here,
game won. That's
Yeah.
all it did. It won.
Listen, Alabama had beaten Saban had beaten Fisher the
Badly.
3 times previous by an average of 25 points a game.
I know.
I mean, and this is the same Texas A&M team that scored 10 points against a bad Colorado team. That's what makes that's what makes this. We talked about it already. I shared with you. That's why I'm doing this column. Is that there's things we're unpredictable this year. I don't think the predictability gets any easier. So what I've done with this column is what I've done personally. I've done personally. That is, I'm stepping back from things when things seem so obvious. Then that's when you ask more questions.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree 100%.
Okay, buddy.
All right, Tony, I will thank you for your time as always. Have a great weekend, and
you too. Yeah.
And get a lot of wieners.
Well, I could probably have a comeback to that. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to say,
I was trying to imitate.
May all the winners be yours. Huh?
I was trying to imitate that famous movie star. He didn't do it very well.
I don't know who he is. I don't know.
I get a lot of winners. Damn it.
I'll try. I'll give it a shot. I will. I'm not going to throw a dart or intentionally give out. If I intentionally gave out losers, I bet I'd win more. I bet.
That's a good promotion.
I'll see you later, man.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tony.
Have a great weekend, buddy. Thank you.
You too. And of course, may all the wins be yours, guys. Thanks for watching.